Hey, this is Hope Cook here with Dermcast Live. I am pleased today to have Savannah Perry. Savannah was actually my student years ago. She's been practicing dermatology for the last 8 years in Augusta, Georgia. After she graduated and started working in dermatology, Savannah started an online company called the PA Platform, which helps prospective PA students get into PA school and learn all kind of information. It also helps current PAs connect.
Yes.
Welcome, Savannah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's so great to see you here.
Yeah, and I love how you're able to talk about social media in a way that can benefit us in dermatology.
Yes, I have seen how beneficial it can be to be in a community with other derm PAs and have an online presence. And so I really like to share about that and encourage others in our community.
Yeah, and you have a podcast also, so that helps reach people. And I've heard you interview different physician assistants and people in the medical community.
Yes, it's a lot of fun to connect outside of just being on social media and get to actually talk to other PAs and then share that too.
Yeah, and so you were talking yesterday about how dermatology is the perfect field for social media. Can you say more about that?
Yes. We have such a visual job and it is so appealing to people. Everyone wants to know more about skin and skincare and products, and there's so much out there. It can become, I think, overwhelming for patients and people who do have an interest in that space. So as dermatology PAs, it's almost part of our responsibility to share the knowledge we have.
Yeah,
And
correct information, right?
Correct information and raising public health awareness to help patients know they need to get their skin checked or that there are options for acne and they don't have to suffer without treatment. And so I think in dermatology, as we can show our results, that helps to build our reputation as experts in the field and helps influence the profession.
Yeah, what about PAs though who are like, ooh, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable on social media, or I don't want my voice on social media?
Very common and normal concerns. I personally still struggle with that even after 7 years. So it is a little bit difficult to watch yourself back, but it's also something you get better at the more you do it. So with practice, with learning from each other, there are ways to overcome some of those fears, and it's a lot of trial and error. So those are valid, but I wouldn't let those stop someone from being on social media because there's definitely an audience out there who is waiting to connect with you and relate to you and can definitely learn from all of us.
Yeah, and I think you were saying that a lot of patients find their provider through Facebook or Instagram, and they sort of connect and say, yeah, what she's doing or saying resonates with me.
Exactly. One of the studies I talked about yesterday said that 43% of patients in the study said that it was moderately to extremely important to them when they are looking for a dermatologist to find them on social media and what that looks like.
Wow, 43%.
Yes, particularly for cosmetic procedures.
Wow.
It makes sense. They want to feel confident in their provider, in their office, and in the procedures that they are looking to have done.
Do you think that a derm PA all by ourselves can do enough social media to promote our practice, or is this something you're going to have to hire outside help for?
I think you can. I think part of that comes down to batching content and making time for it. Personally, when I have a busy schedule of 40 patients, it's hard to find time to make content. Sometimes that's during lunch or coming in a little early or even coming in on one of my off days just to make content and to share that. And so it is something you have to commit to. And I think doing it yourself helps you to learn how to do it, but then at some point there are ways to get help through assistants and online schedulers that make it a lot easier too.
And you said something interesting about batching content. For people who have no idea what that means, the only thing they batch is brownies.
Yeah.
Tell our listeners, like, what does that mean?
So to batch content means that you make a lot of it all at once.
Okay.
And there are different ways to do that, but if you know that you want to post every day for a week, so you would make sure you are sitting down and creating the videos or taking the pictures that you'll need for an entire week. Then you sit down and you make the captions and you have it all ready to go, and you can usually do that within a couple hours time.
Okay.
So instead of trying to do things last minute or feeling like you're all over the place and trying to fit it in, if you can carve out specific time to get all your content ready, it makes it a little less stressful. There are also ways to have kind of stock images and stock videos that you can use. Sometimes I will meet up with a photographer who will take some photos that I'll use for the next couple of months and spread them out. Or I'll take random videos of myself in the office, just charting, pretending I'm talking to a patient, walking down the hall. It sounds silly, but on those busy days, I can pull from that. I can do a voiceover. I can add text. And it makes it a lot easier. Yes, so easy.
Yeah, patients love that. They feel like they really know you as a provider when you have some hip hop music and you're, writing your charts or whatever. But what about providers who are like, I don't know, the whole dancing music thing, that's not my scene. Can they still make an impact on social media, like say on Facebook?
Yes. The entertainment part of it can be fun, but it's not everyone's thing.
Yeah.
And educational content performs very well. Most of these social media platforms are really pushing educational content. They see the value in that and that it is something people and patients are looking for. So we have, the added value of knowing evidence-based medicine and sharing facts that are accurate.
That's so true.
Yes. I shared yesterday that in one of the studies, they said that misinformation spreads 6 times more quickly than factual information on the internet. And so if we can combat some of that and really just share education, before and after pictures, pulling stock images, random images in your office, you want them to be visually appealing, but really if your captions and your information is good, that's what will connect with your audience.
Because I think when you first hear social media and dermatology, maybe some people, their first thought is, well, what about patient confidentiality?
Yeah.
So how do you get a waiver if you're going to show like a before and after? Do you try to only get this part of the face?
Right, that is a concern, completely valid. The first thing to consider is your practice's standards, and if there's anything in your contract or any state regulations as far as sharing patient information. We want to consider HIPAA. We don't want to ever share patient names or personal info. So that is something to consider. And once you're fine with that, you've established kind of what that's going to look like for you, then getting consent is important, and getting both verbal and written consent, I would say, is the best approach. You really want to be upfront with the patients about what you're planning on sharing, how you're planning on sharing it, and then also having that written consent, which for us, we put it into the chart directly, and I also document that we talked about it and that the patient was okay with it. And that helps them to feel more comfortable. And if there's ever a hesitation with a patient, that's okay. That's just not the patient you want to post.
That is very true.
But if you have your loyal patients who you've seen for years and you have a great rapport, great relationship, they're going to want to help you and understand that by sharing their experiences, it'll be beneficial to the practice and to you as a provider too.
Yeah. And I think if you approach it from an educational standpoint, that would probably go over better with like the management, you know?
Yes.
Let's educate our patients on acne so they're not getting misinformation from Dr. TikTok or whatever.
Yes, education, and then also building patient populations. So building your patient base, I think we all want pretty full schedules most of the time. And so if there are times you have lulls or you aren't having a full schedule, by having that extra time to create content can bring patients in and help to build the practice too.
So have you had patients find you, like come in as new patients and they said, I saw you on Instagram?
I have had a couple. There was one recently who was a new, younger patient, and she said, I almost messaged you. I almost did, but I was able to get in.
Well, that brings up a good point, because you do open the door for messaging. And so how do you, what do you do about that to keep patients from saying like, my skin's flaring, and sending you an Instagram message?
I think with social media and just technology, patients will find you if they want to. Whether you're have a personal account or a private account, whether
Yeah.
you're public or not, they will find you. So we have a couple approaches. At a practice level, if someone messages asking medical advice, we have an automatic response that says we aren't able to
Okay, that
evaluate
makes sense.
you or look at pictures over social media. Here's our office info. Please make an appointment.
Yeah.
And then from a personal perspective, when people message me, I have something very similar that basically says, I don't give dermatology advice.
Yeah.
Please make an appointment. I have some general skincare recommendations, but nothing personalized to one person. So
Yeah.
I think deciding what your line for that is and sticking to it, having a plan in place, makes that a lot easier.
That is good information. So let's say you have a PA who's never done any social media for dermatology, but maybe they're familiar with Instagram and Facebook. What would be a good place to start? Like just doing a post or a reel, or like it's overwhelming?
It is overwhelming, and it's always changing, which makes it a little more difficult. I think if you're just starting, the biggest thing is just getting stuff out there. Get your
Okay.
content out there. It's not going to be perfect, and that's okay, because you'll get better at it the more you do it. So see what works. It's all trial and error. So you won't know what your audience wants to see and what they'll resonate with until you start posting.
Yeah.
So getting some stuff out there, seeing what works. If it's working, do more of it. If it's not, try something new.
Okay.
Right now, video content is definitely doing better than anything else.
All
So
right.
video on Instagram, video on Facebook, definitely video on TikTok is
Okay.
the quickest way to grow as of right now.
Yeah, so just do it, get it out there. I like how you shared that in the beginning, your Instagram tiles or whatever you call
Yeah.
it, you didn't really have a color theme, or they were just pictures.
Yes.
And you still had thousands of followers.
Yes, and that blows my mind. And that's where you find your audience, people who want to get to know you and learn from you. But yes, it has been quite the evolution, and it's taken a long time to figure that out. But yes, if you go way back, my pictures were very random. They were pictures of my socks or my dog, and not anything useful at all. But the information was good and the education was good. And then as I got better at it, my feed got nicer and looks a lot prettier now.
Yeah. And then will you say a little bit about other ways to reach patients or potential patients other than social media, like through a book or through a podcast? Or
Yeah. With just the reach of online and the internet now, there are so many ways to connect with patients. And we talk about social media, but the problem with social media is that you don't own that audience.
Oh, yeah.
And it could go away very quickly. So if you are building your audience, the best thing you can do is to also build an email list to capture those people and have a direct connection to them. And then if you do have other avenues, like a podcast is great. There are so many podcast people. I'm one of them who love to listen. And if you are sharing on a specific topic, having a specific niche like dermatology or skincare makes a huge difference in finding your people. So podcasts can be helpful. A book, self-publishing on Amazon is extremely easy. It's not easy to write a book, but you know, the process of putting that book up is very easy, and that's also a great way to establish your knowledge and your expertise and build that confidence with your audience and bring them in also. So those are great ways. And then I think beyond just social media, we also have to think about the bigger platforms like YouTube. So it is social media, but it's also the second largest search engine behind Google. And that's where a lot of people spend a lot of time. And so if you are creating video content, if you can start there, you can also reach a good amount of people.
Yeah, those are a little bit longer videos, right?
They can be, yeah.
Okay. And you and I were talking earlier, Savannah has a 4-year-old and she works, and we were talking about how much time this takes. But it's also a fun way to use a part of your brain that you don't normally use. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, this is definitely my creative outlet.
Yeah.
So I enjoy writing, I enjoy creating content and connecting with other people. And so while it's easy to get in a mindless scroll of just going through social media, it's also a little bit different when you switch the creator role instead of the consumer role. And once you are kind of get over putting yourself out there and start doing it, it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy it most of the time.
Yeah, and I've also found if you are too obsessed with checking for likes and checking for comments, it can sort of suck the joy out of it.
Yes, the algorithms are so volatile, and just nobody will ever understand them. And I don't even try at this point. I'm like, oh, my Instagram hasn't grown at all, but I got 10,000 TikTok followers. Same video. No idea why. It doesn't make sense. So we don't try to make it make sense. We just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah. Oh, this is so helpful. It really made me want to go make a TikTok video, which I've never done.
You definitely should.
All right, so do you have any other resources for our listeners?
Yeah, so I think really podcasts. There's tons of great podcasts on social media. If there's something you're struggling with, look it up. You'll find a lot of different resources that'll get you started, but you do want to do your own experimenting with that. I do have another website called prescribesocial.com that has resources specifically for healthcare providers who want to get into social media. Things like calendars for posting content and ideas, just to help you know where to get started.
Yeah, that's such good information. Thanks, Savannah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is Hope Cook with Dermcast Live here in Austin.